You gotta get out.
Get out. When I say get out, I mean run out the door.
I don't want to get called on. He wants me to sit next to him. You don't want to get called on.
So when you get the phone, she went, MLS cup? Shield.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. So good to see everyone this holiday weekend. I don't know what's going on. I'm doing as usual. I can figure that out after. Hopefully you guys can hear me. We're going to begin our service tonight with melody, Gesher Tzami Od. And we find it on page 643. And Rabbi Bellis and I, we figure out what kind of music and tone we want to set for each Shabbat. And when we came up this week, the first thing that I think about during this month of Elul, preparatory month for let's come guys, soon, right? These high holidays that are coming. Is this Gesher Tzami Od?
Excuse me, can you talk a little louder or turn the microphone
I don't
on?
know what's going on.
One or the other.
All right.
I'm going to hold it right here, and then afterward, I will go and check out the sound system.
Okay.
Unless Mr. Jeff wants to go and check it out.
Be
So,
politely dead.
I don't know. Oh, that's neat. So it may not be here. It may not be here, it's just going out there. Okay. All right, so we're just, yeah, right. If you go to a meeting out there, it's loud as heck, it really is. Here it is.
Line services.
It's all right, we'll project for the time.
Yes, all right. Okay, I'm going to do the child voice going here. All right, and then just make Allie finish. You did. Gesher Tzami, which means the world is the entire world is a narrow bridge. And the important thing, though, is not to be afraid. And this time of year, when we're thinking about our past, thinking about our future, and we're thinking about the things that might get in the way sometimes of doing what we know in our minds and our hearts is about compassion, about kindness, about connecting, and yet there's this fear. And this melody reminds me that the world is sometimes crazy, the world is sometimes scary, and kind of fragile. But our common humanity, our common needs, we all have fears of all different kinds. And the idea, though, is to remember, yeah, it's scary, it's crazy, and we get afraid. But we go on anyway. How are we doing? So, okay, that, we got it. Please join us if you know this melody. No, it's not. Okay. I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to sing loud. Oh, how long will Gesher Tzarmeod, Gesher Tzarmeod, Gesher Tzarmeod, Kol Haolam Kulo
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. What an important and profound way to start our service tonight as we are coming closer and closer to Rosh Hashanah, the start of our new year. And as Cantor Belinda mentioned, we are in the month of Elul, this month of preparation, this month of anticipation, where we welcome the opportunity, as scary as it can be, to reflect on the year that has passed and to get ourselves ready for the year to come. And so throughout our service tonight, there will be some moments where I will invite you to take a few seconds to think about the year, to get yourself ready, to maybe contemplate certain parts of the new year to come. And together we'll get just even a little bit closer to the new year. We're going to turn now to page 120 in our prayer books. And just a reminder that if you have a prayer book that has 2 page numbers in the corner, you're following the one that's in the brackets. Okay, page 120 for our candle lighting. And I am honored to invite up Stephen Nardine and Ruth Levy to lead us in the lighting and blessing. And Stephen will be back up here later in the service. He'll be speaking to us. He's one of our Elul speakers this year, and he'll be sharing his unexpected journey towards Judaism and his upcoming trip to Israel, what he's looking forward to, and as well as publicly affirming his recent conversion to Judaism. We're very excited to have you guys here. Let's now turn together to Lecha Dodi, page 138.
Shabbat
Shabbat Shalom, my good friend.
Shabbat Shalom. Oh, yeah. In the valley, Shabbat Shalom. So Shabbat Shalom. That's great.
Yeah, I just didn't have much time to change.
But the valley courier, you know what's been written about me. The valley courier, your local paper, it's Essex Chester.
Let's go to page 144, please, and stay standing as we continue with the Chatzi Kaddish. Amen. And now I'll share with you a poem by a woman named Debbie Perlman of blessed memory, which she wrote for the month of Elul. Fighting the languor of sultry days, we begin the turning back to you. Moving against the heat of our hearts, against the anger inside, we turn. Call us to begin the examination, healing God. Call for us to remove the garment of our deceit, the fears that bind us away from you, chafing at our tender miseries. In the month of Elul, we begin the unlayering, peeling piece by piece the accumulated detritus, shaking it free, holding it to the hot light to scrutinize as the year begins its ending. In the month of Elul, we uncover our secrets, examining them with a truthful heart, counting the pulse beats of our life, the selfish pressures we apply and resist. Call us to the consultation of our souls, for you are a God of healing and mercy. Call us to begin without delay, that Elul might draw us near to you. Page 150.
You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions with which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gate. Thus you shall remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God.
Thank you. So this translation of the Ve'ahavta, interestingly, when we take this moment in our service, so many of the other prayers that we're saying, so many of the other parts of the liturgy are directed outward, right? They're directed to God. We're praising God, we're thanking God, we're asking God for things. And for the Ve'ahavta, this is a quote from the Torah, from the book of Deuteronomy. And these words are more about us, right? It's a list of commands, of ideas, of what we should be doing to show our love to God. So, in the spirit of this being Elul, take a look at the list on the page. Anything jump out at you as something you figure you might be able to try to do differently or more of in the new year? Or something that really speaks to you, even if you're already doing it? And if so, does anybody want to share? Yeah, Beth, nice and loudly, please, for everybody.
I actually like the translation on the other part of the other page on it.
Oh, so the translation on 155?
With that, do not leave them at the door of your house or on your gates.
Yeah.
So let them guide the work of your hands.
Yeah.
And talk about them to your children, talk about them at work, talk about your values. Bringing
Nice.
them outside of your personal space at home.
So it sounds like you're saying Judaism, like it's fine and good if Judaism is just kind of in your own little personal circle, right? The circle you could draw around yourself, a personal space, that's Judaism, right? But it sounds like you're saying Judaism can be part of everything you do and can be part of the work that you do, the people you encounter, the way you approach the world.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I like that. So to really work on bringing Jewish values and Jewish teachings to everything you do. Anybody have another thought? Thank you for that. No. I encourage you to also think about what does it mean to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. Why would it list those three things? Why not just say love God with every part of you? Why enumerate heart, soul, might, strength, right? And what does each different part mean? And so maybe some of us intellectualize Judaism, but we don't really let it in our hearts. Maybe some of us feel Judaism, almost, on the other side. We feel Judaism so much in our souls, but maybe we feel like our learning isn't necessarily there, and everything in between. We can live Jewishly and live in the world as human beings with all the different parts of ourselves. So last chance, anybody else want to share? No. Alan's like, no. Dear God. Everyone's doing the 7th grade. If I look down, she won't. All right. Hopefully I gave you something to think about. Okay, let's go on. Okay, let's go to Peggy.
We have a quiz.
What? There's a pop quiz. Let's go to page 158 for the Ve'ahavta.
Ambo,
Page 161, we read together at the top. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up ready to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. V'shamu b'nei Israel, et hashavat la'asot me through page 180. You may be seated when you have finished your prayers. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight, for helping us celebrate Shabbat, one of these last Shabbatot of 5778. What? The penultimate one. Yes, excellent SAT word. Thank you so much. The penultimate Shabbat. That's a good one. What does penultimate mean? That's a good question. Would you like to define penultimate?
Ultimate, it means second to last. Basically, you can kind of do ultimate means last. Penultimate, then you can be second to last.
Exactly, the second to last Shabbat of this year. So excellent, good work. So yes, here we are, second to last Shabbat. And I do want to thank you for the little bit of sound questions at the beginning of our service. For tomorrow night, we were testing out the sound. Hopefully, you're planning on joining us for Salichot, the kind of warm-up holiday for the high holidays. We're going to be watching a movie called Defending Your Life. I don't know if anybody has seen it or remembers it. Wonderful movie with Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep. It's a comedy that has surprising depths to it. About life and afterlife and what really this world is all about. And we're going to be having a film discussion after the movie, and then coming into the sanctuary for our Slichot service, which will include the changing of the Torah mantles from blue to white. So we're getting ready, closer and closer, every little bit of preparation for the new year. So you're all invited back tomorrow night at 6:30 for Slichot, but that's why the sound was a little kooky. This time of year, it's impossible not to think about time and what has happened, what's taken place in our lives over the past year. And for some of us, it's hard to even think about the new year when there are people in our lives who are struggling with illness or injury, when it could be ourselves struggling, and when every day is truly its own, very much its own thing. And so we think of those people who need our prayers for a refuah shalema, a complete and speedy recovery. Tonight we are praying especially for Reagan Konecki, John DiNicola, Nancy Schwamm, Sam Rosenblum, Miriam Swidler, Simon Alexander Petty, Larry Mancini, Charles Sabat, Debbie Clymer, Layla Phillips, Iris Clark, Burl Bellows, Josephine Stricker, Cindy Rishal, David Ben Mayer, and Arthur Myers. Who would you like to add to our list of healing, either out loud or in your own heart?
Courtney Nardine.
Yeah, Krzyzewski.
Mishaberach Avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov, v'Imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Leah, v'Rachel, v'Yivarech, v'Yirapeh, et kol ha'cholim ha'ela. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, and Isaac, and Jacob, and Sarah, Rebecca, and Leah, and Rachel, bless and heal all those who are sick. We pray, God, that they return to us with a healing of mind and a healing of body and a healing of spirit. May their doctors, their caregivers, their family members be blessed with compassion, with wisdom, and with kindness. And we pray that they return to us swiftly in wholeness and in peace. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh HaCholim, we praise you, God, who cares for the sick. And let us say together. Amen. Let's turn to page 371 and join in Mishaberach. We praise you, God, who makes good things happen in the world around us. And let us say, Amen. Amen. And we have smachot, simchas, happy things to celebrate. Who would like to share anything going on? Any birthdays, anniversaries? Yes, Zach.
On Wednesday, I started high school.
On Wednesday, you started high school. Don't sound so excited. You are excited, aren't you? Like, was it okay? Yeah, maybe. Sophomore year. And sophomore year. Well, hopefully it's going to be an awesome year for you and filled with this whole new exciting feel, I mean, we wouldn't make so many movies about high school if it wasn't such like a big time in our lives. But of course, it's not everything. So if it's not great, it's okay, because there's always so much more to come. What? It's a big 4 years. It's only 4 years. It's a big 4 years, and ultimately it's only 4 years. All right. Who else has something to celebrate? All right. That's okay. No news is good news. I hope you had a good week. I don't know why I turn into like Long Island grandmother sometimes. I apologize. I think it's like I get possessed momentarily, and there's a hint of New Jersey in there too. Right? A little hint. There's a hint of New Jersey. No, my New Jersey, wait, that's a lower voice. Oh my God, let me tell you. You'll come over, you'll have a connection with me. All right, I'm done. Okay, so. Throughout the month of Elul, it's been a tradition for a number of years here at CBSRZ to invite speakers to share personal stories with us each Friday night leading up to Rosh Hashanah. And we call them our Elul speakers, and this year's theme has been unexpected journeys. And this week we are very privileged to have an opportunity to hear from Stephen Nardine, who's already a beloved part of our community, a regular at Shabbat, a regular at Scrollers, and it's all been part of his, I don't want to give the whole story away, but his journey towards Judaism. So Stephen, it's a pleasure to invite you up to the Bima to share your story with us. And I'm going to see.
No? You okay? Okay, try it. Try to speak loud enough. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We have something to bring it closer to you.
Oh, wow.
There.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom, and my Hebrew name now is Mazel Tov, otherwise known as Stephen Nardine. I'm very excited to be here on this occasion and share my story, my journey with you today. Everybody has a unique story, and I'm very proud of mine. Conversion is a process to where you're adopting new beliefs, and that certainly applies to me, but it's also, I think, in this case for me, it's been a process where I've returned to myself, and I've been realized who I am, and I have become the person I know my parents wanted me to be, and the person who I seek to be. I was brought up in, my first 8 years were spent in Savannah, Georgia. Just to give you a little bit of background on the justice aspect of my family, in Savannah, Georgia, my dad was in the Air Force. And so they were from New York and Connecticut, but they were stationed at Hunter Air Force Base in Savannah. And this was in the 50s. And this was prior to Brown versus Board of Education. This was during the time when segregation was still strong. And during that period of time, separate but equal allowed people to have different facilities for blacks and whites. And you could eat separately, or it was perfectly lawful for a state to say that you couldn't eat at a certain place, or you couldn't sleep at a certain place, and you couldn't drink from the same water fountain. So they used to have, and I remember this very clearly, colored-only water fountains and white-only water fountains. And my mom, being my mom, from New York, made sure that her 4 boys drank from the colored-only water fountain. Because she wasn't going to give in to that kind of thinking, and in our family, to that extent, civil disobedience was alive and well. That is part of my moral background, my background in justice, and I think my mother provided that to a great extent. She seemed to understand what was right and what was wrong, and instill that in us. My father was a quiet influence. He was a very forgiving and a very nurturing person, and I think that aspect of my personality was developed through him. So as we got older in the 1960s, we were transferred from Savannah to Massachusetts, Otis Air Force Base on the Cape, and the Kennedys used to come in and out of that Air Force Base all the time. And I remember playing baseball, and he came by. It was when his wife was being hospitalized when she lost her baby in 1963, Patrick. And he came by. He was visiting her every day. And he came by. We used to play baseball in this field. And he drove by. He got out. He came over to us and said, "Who's the ringer here?" And all the hands went up. So, and then he laughed. He got back in. And of course, a month later, he was assassinated. But one of the things that I remember about that period of time was that the Kennedy administration was working very hard against such influences as George Wallace and other people who were still trying to keep things segregated. And I followed that very closely. I followed the efforts of people from the Northeast and other areas of the country to go down there and participate in that monumental effort. And what I couldn't help notice is that a lot of the white people who were on that Freedom Rider bus going down to Selma and other areas, a disproportionate number of them were Jews. People who were heavily committed to civil rights and progress and justice. And I realized that from a fairly young age. I noticed that. I didn't know what it meant then. I didn't know what the significance of that was at that time. Other things, I come from a musical family. My dad was a horn player, a trumpet player before World War II. He was in a jazz combo. And then he had to, when he got married and had kids, he had to get a day job. Everything changed, but he loved music, and one of my brothers is a music educator. And one of my brothers is a dance choreographer, and he was a director for local theaters. So music and the arts were a very important part of our background. And one of the things I noticed again, as I was getting involved in music, was that in the arts, in theater, in motion picture industry, in education, in law, in medicine, there's a disproportionate number of Jews who are involved in those very early professions. And I noticed that, again, at a relatively young age, and I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know why that was. But I can tell you, Benny Goodman, Artie Shaw, Leonard Bernstein, Stephen Sondheim, Richard Rodgers, Oscar Hammerstein, and the list goes on and on and on. These people were big influences to me, as they had to be to anybody who was involved in the arts. So while I saw these wonderful contributions being made by Jews, I didn't have much understanding of really why that was. So I had this background, and it predisposed me, and I did learn why that was, why there are so many Jews active in so many important areas. And it really comes down, in my mind, to pray actively. When you're seeking change, it's not enough to pray. It's not enough to talk to God. You've got to act on that to make your world a better place. And I think that the great benefit you have of being born a Jew is those thoughts become part of your DNA. You learn them at a very early age, and you develop that consciousness. And that's why you're seeing such a disproportionate number of people doing great things. The other aspect of conversion, of course, is immersing yourself in the practices, traditions, and trying to become a Jew in the sense that you adapt those things. I had no formal religious education. My parents thought we should have some some kind of moral grounding, so they sent us to the nearest church. My parents were essentially non-religious people. They were secular people. But they thought we should be exposed to something, so we went to the Lutheran church for about 4 years, and we had that. My mother, just as an example, she thought, well, maybe we should send them to Unitarian churches because there are certain aspects of Christianity that I really don't quite understand. So we were kind of caught in that little bit of area of limbo, and we really didn't have much grounding in religion. And what I want to ask you to try to do is can you imagine that you've never been involved in a Friday night lighting the candles with your family? Can you even conceive of that? Can you imagine that you've never been to a Shabbat service? That you've never been in a synagogue? Can you imagine that you've never been to a Seder on Passover? That you've never shared those stories and those insights and that wisdom and those values with your family and with your friends in such a meaningful, loving context? Can you imagine you never have heard the sound of the shofar and been moved by that sound? I really doubt that you can imagine that kind of a world, but that was my world. Up until about 4 or 5 years ago. My brother actually about 25 years ago converted. And I watched his family get together, and his friends, and his congregation. I went to his son's bar mitzvah. And the more I saw, the more I thought, hey, this is pretty good. I like this. These people really seem to be committed to each other as a congregation, as a family, and they have these shared values and these shared practices that seem to bring them together in a very meaningful way. And then about 3 years ago, I attended the High Holy Days at a conservative synagogue in Middletown. The messages of atonement, forgiveness, the recognition that our time is very limited, and if we're to do something, let's not wait till tomorrow. The powerful sound of the shofar, I heard that for the first time just 5 years ago. That ancient call to action. It hit me in the gut. I didn't know why. And it still does. It's had a lasting impression on me. So this emotional reaction that I got led to a more intellectual attempt to understand what it was that was going on. And since then, I've continued with that. I studied Hebrew. I have a long way to go on Hebrew, but I started studying that. And I'll be continuing with that as I pursue my B'nai Mitzvah, which I hope will be in about 2 years. So I think I learned what it means to be a Jew. Those things that you can't imagine not taking part in the Shabbat and sounding the shofar and Passover and the High Holy Days, I can't imagine not being part of it anymore. And I guess that means that I'm a Jew. With the help of my brothers and sisters at Holy Scrollers, I've been involved in the weekly study of the Torah and the Midrash, reading from rabbinic scholars and contemporary scholars, seeing what they have to say and how they try to make sense out of the Torah and make it relevant to them. I've learned the tolerance and respect that people can give each other in that study. I must say that it's been a big and meaningful part of my becoming a Jew, and the people who take part in that Saturday morning program have influenced me in ways that they don't or could not know. As an example, Alan Appel, who's a fellow Holy Scroller, learned that I was going through the conversion process, and the next time he came in, he had one of his books called Revelation, which is a serious but funny novel that he wrote about people who are in the conversion process and how that can create interesting moments. So I really appreciated that active kindness. The whole concept of what we're doing here keeps me grounded and it keeps me on course. And I need it Bellows has provided me with direction during the conversion process and insights that have made my experience much easier. And more than that, her basic kindness and patience is what I'm always thinking of when I think of her. Rabbi Bellows, you remind me of my father. And I couldn't pay you a higher compliment. As they say, last but not least, is my sweetheart and partner, Ruth Lee. Being with someone who will soon be my wife, and being someone who shares my Jewish values is important to Ruth. And I thank God that I found Judaism when I did, at exactly the right time, before I met Ruth. Being Jewish will remain an important bond between us, and it makes our relationship stronger. And it makes so many things that we share with family and friends so much more meaningful. Ruth, I'll always be grateful to you and to your family for bringing me in, taking me in, giving me so much support. Ruth and I will be honeymooning in Israel, so it's been a big year. The 5778, 5779 has been very busy, and we're looking so much to going to Israel on our honeymoon. And it's my first trip, it's Ruth's fourth trip, and I think there will be future trips there. The trip will take us from Tel Aviv for a more contemporary type setting, and then we'll go up to the area of, I've got a map here, to Haifa, to Golden Heights. We're going to see some of the trouble spots, some of the historic problems, the Yom Kippur War of 1973. We're going to actually be able to see where these hot spots were and talk to people on both sides, Israelis and Arabs, who give us some insight as to what's going on over there. I'm so looking forward to that. And then, of course, going back to Jerusalem and getting a sense of that history is going to be so important to me in my progress as a Jew. And as I said, it's been such a meaningful year, the most important year of my life, and I thank all of you for being part of that. But one more thing, I was as we were looking through the book today, this is like, I'm going over time here, but this is so as we were reading today, I come from a musical family, so when I read this, it said, don't stop after beating the swords into plowshares. Don't stop. Go on beating and make musical instruments out of them. I like that. Whoever wants to make poor again will have to turn them into plowshares first. And this is just so significant. Thank you.
We now have the privilege of publicly acknowledging as a congregational community Stephen's conversion to Judaism. And so I'm going to ask everyone to please rise. Bruchim habayim b'shem Adonai, v'rachnuchem mibeit Adonai. Blessed are you who come here in God's name. May you find blessing here in the house of God. At this sacred and joyous moment, we renew the covenant of Sinai between God and the people of Israel. Oh God, we thank you for your many blessings. We thank you for the gift of Torah, which has been a light for our path. We recall with reverence and gratitude all those descendants of Abraham and Sarah who have been faithful to you, and those who, of their own choice, have sought to serve you through the faith and tradition of the people of Israel. Oh God, grant your loving favor to Stephen, As in this holy place we welcome him into Jewish life, we open our hearts to him. Strengthen Stephen in his resolve and help him to live in fidelity to the decision that he has made. May Stephen always find satisfaction and joy in the fulfillment of your sacred mitzvot. Grant him many years of strength and happiness as a worthy member of our congregation. We praise you, O God, in whose presence is the fullness of joy. Amen. Now I'll ask you to read this affirmation.
Of my own free will, I choose to enter the eternal covenant between God and the people of Israel and become a Jew. I accept Judaism to the exclusion of all other religious faiths and practices. Under all circumstances, I will be loyal to the Jewish people and to Judaism. I promise to establish a Jewish home and to participate actively in the life of the synagogue and of the Jewish community. I commit myself to the pursuit of Torah and Jewish knowledge. Ruth said, "Entreat me not to leave you, or to return from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my God. Where you die, I will die, and there will I be buried."
Stephen, you're now standing before this open ark and before the commanding presence of the Torah, the Jewish people's most cherished treasure. It has led us on the way and guided us ever since we received it at Sinai. And now I'm going to place the Torah into your arms. Take it to your heart as you will then recite the words of the Shema, the affirmation that has sustained the Jewish people since our beginnings.
Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Hear, O Israel, Adonai is our God, Adonai is one.
You are known by the name Stephen, which means that you are always linked in love to those who gave you life. And from this time forth, you shall also be known within the Jewish community as Lev Shalom, a peaceful heart. Lev Shalom ben Abraham and Sarah. May this name, this perfect name, bring respect to you and honor to the Jewish people, because we are lucky to have you. We rejoice as we welcome into our midst one who is willingly and devotedly joins us and becomes part of our people. As our people have done throughout the ages, we will now ask God's blessing on you in ancient words. Cantor Belinda, come join us. May God bless you and keep you. May God's light always shine on you and be gracious to you. May God's presence always be with you on this journey on which you've embarked, and always grant every step of your way peacefulness and wholeness. Shalom. Shalom. Amen. Simmen Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simmen Tov, Simmen Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simmen Tov, Simmen Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Simmen Tov. Please be seated. We are indeed lucky to count you as one of our own. Thank you so much. And an early Mazel Tov to you and Ruth. It's such an exciting time for you both. So just a few announcements now before we turn to our concluding prayers. As I already mentioned, you are all welcome back tomorrow night at 6:30 p.m. for our Slichot program. Again, it's Havdalah, a movie, there's snacks, discussion, and then the beautiful service back in here with the changing of the Torah mantles. Our office is closed on Monday, September 3rd in observance of Labor Day. And then next Friday night at 7:30 p.m. we have our third and final Elul speaker, which will be Marilyn White-Godfrey, speaking about her journeys and travels to a variety of different Jewish communities, especially in Israel, and her reflections on those journeys. So that'll be really wonderful and special. If anyone has questions about the high holiday schedule, please let one of us know. We have all the information about who should be where when and what the different services will be for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Any other announcements anybody wants to share? First day of Kibbutz is coming up, September 16th, for those of you who are part of that community. Okay, well then let's turn now to page. Oh, and finally, thank you to Ruth and Stephen for sponsoring the ONEG tonight. How could I forget to mention that? Page 586. Middle of the page, please rise.
Shalom,
Shemam Avdu Ve'enam. There are stars up above, so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, till their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. Page 598. If you hear the name of a family member or friend on our Shloshim or Dortzeit list, and if you're comfortable doing so, you're invited to rise when you hear his or her name, and then to remain standing until we all join you for the mourner's Kaddish. This Shabbat, we mark the recent passing of Deborah Leff. We mark the Yortzites, the anniversaries of death for Mary Oster, Lee Barron, Min Chayat, Harriet Feldmar, Lillian Goldstein, Ruth Gottlieb, Irene Kemp, Lowell Klappholtz, Goldie Lambeck, Henry Price, Doris Reiner, Saul Seligman, and Rabbi Harold Saul White. Zichronam Livracha. If anyone else is observing a Shiva, Shloshim, or Yortzeit and would like to share a name out loud, you're invited to do so now.
Joe Cohen. Grace Rowe.
May all of their memories always be a blessing to those who knew and loved them. Together now we all rise and we join in the words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shmei rabbah, v'alma divrah pirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayei chon v'yomechon v'chayei v'chol beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kariv yikru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah v'barach le'olam l'amei almaya, v'yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalel v'yitalal shmei Kedusha breakthrough. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nefemata, da'amiran v'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shlam rabba v'yishemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom v'ramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to all the world. And let us say together. Amen.
We close with Hava Nashira on page 643. Hava, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. Hava, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah. Hava, Hava Nashira, Shir Hallelujah, Shir Hallelujah.
Shabbat Shalom.
How you doing? We have new people here tonight. It's the first time.
What's quoting the Good Shabbos, Henry. How are you?
Fine, thank you.